The field will definitely change in the next 10 years, and I've seen the changes already in the 30 years that I've been a historian. Back in the 1990s, the perpetrators of the crimes of National Socialism were still around, and I recognized at that time that this was not going to be a permanent arrangement, and so I started interviewing Nazi art plunderers and other perpetrators, as I said, and I'm glad I did, because all of them are now dead, and I was part of the generation that could reach out to them and talk to them and do the oral history with these perpetrators. And it was somewhat controversial, I think it's fair to say, especially if you have repeated exchanges with the perpetrators. I believe that it was necessary to get to know them, that they weren't going to divulge secrets on the first visit, the first interview, that one had to develop a relationship, if you will, or to talk to them multiple times before really interesting material came out. And that was the case. I mean, I even had one Nazi general, Wilhelm Hüttel, who tested me for 2 hours on Austrian and National Socialist history, for a couple hours, and who was the chancellor of Germany after the Anschluss, and tell me about Schuschnigg and and what have you, and Seyss-Inquart, and I was tested, and then finally he said, all right, we can talk, and he went and he opened a bottle of wine, and then we talked. It was very strange, but I interviewed him several times, and the best information came subsequently. But again, that's something where people have been critical, even critical of me. I defended. I think it was absolutely necessary, and I took careful notes, protocols, and I would even send the notes and material to the FBI, to the Department of Justice at times, to Interpol, when I thought there was relevant information there. So I thought I was fighting the good fight. Now, that generation is gone. People had to be older to be in a position of authority during the Third Reich, and now we have the survivor generation, mostly people who were children or adolescents at the time, and so they weren't in quite the same positions of authority, but obviously they have very vivid memories, and it's very important to get their stories. Fortunately, there's been great work done by the Shoah Foundation and the Fortunoff Archive at Yale, among other places, and this history has been recorded, documented. I was even reminded yesterday, someone asked me if I'd ever recorded my father and his experiences, and I realized I had not. So when I go back to Southern California tomorrow, it's high on my list is to tape him and make sure I get his story. So that's one thing we can do, is we can document this history. And so that's important, and hopefully with the videotapes that is something, at least something we can hold on to. Is it the same to be able to engage with the survivors? No, but it is something, and there are certain advantages now with technology where you can search terms and the search functions with speech recognition. In many ways, the videotapes afford some opportunities. I think ideally there would be both, that you would have individuals you could talk to and then also rely on the videotape to look for specific themes and topics. But I think oral history is very important for a complete, for a phrase that's used sometimes, an integrated history. We have documents, government documents that are, of course, very, very important, but we need the oral history to really understand what transpired, and so we have to proceed with the recognition that the oral history will not always be there in a live form, that we're going to have to rely on the videotape, and so we should tape people as much as we can now, and prepare for this future.